The Sarah Jane Adventures, The Nightmare Man, the first story of Series 4, is written by Joseph Lidster and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Tommy Knight, Daniel Anthony, Anjali Mahindra, Alexander Armstrong and John Leeson. So yeah, the original plan was if Luke stayed on longer as he leaves from being a main character, Luke would have been gay. They would have introduced a character called Sanjay. He's mentioned him twice in Series 4. BBC suggested that to Russell T Davies, but he dropped it for the time being. So a novel of this story is written by Joseph Lidster, got published as an ebook on the 25th of November 2010. So it begins with Luke filming himself saying that the world is coming to an end and it's his fault as he's after him. Pretty intense there. So 1 year ago, while Luke and Sarah Jane are tied up in the warehouse full of blue barrels, Luke tells Sarah Jane that Haresh Chandra said Luke could do A-levels in Oxford. So Slitheen came in and Clyde and Rani came in with a bucket full of vinegar and exploded a Slitheen, and everyone got covered in what's left of that Slitheen. And they stopped the bomb. Rani and Clyde are happy with Luke. The bit where Sarah Jane gave Luke a yellow car and having a conversation about they're going to miss each other is really emotional.
I will always be here for you. But of course I'm going to miss you.
So Luke has a dream that Sarah Jane and K9 are glad that Luke will be gone. Pretty spooky. So he later dreams that he's in a school corridor, and I found it scary when Sarah Jane, Clyde and Ronnie were raising that loser sign with their hands, and the sound of Nightmare Man's voice. Blimey, that was so scary. So Luke went down to school as Clyde wanted to see him, and everyone at school are doing a farewell party for Luke, which is nice. So after Clyde got Ronnie to dance with him, Luke fell asleep, everyone roaming like zombies, and Nightmare Man appeared out of nowhere. Yes, that's Julian Bleach, who played Davros in Doctor Who and Ghostmaker in Torchwood. In Sarah Jane Adventures, he plays Nightmare Man, a Vishkla from the Sarati dimension who scares people with dreams, which works really effectively. Julian is so good, he's so terrifying. As Luke wakes up and Ronnie asking him what's happened, we cut to Luke sending an email to Maria, and the Nightmare Man says he can't tell anyone about him. After Luke dreams that Sarah Jane got a new kid to replace Luke, we cut to result day, with the whole gang filming each other. As everyone but Luke is asleep, this is where he films himself. So then he falls asleep and the Nightmare Man appears and Luke is in blank. So while Nightmare Man is giving Clyde and Ronnie some nightmares, Sarah Jane watches the footages they film on video camera, and she finds Luke explaining about the Nightmare Man, so Sarah Jane learns more about him on Mr. Smith. So she gets K9 to communicate with him as he's in the dark school corridor. Clyde finds himself working in a cafe with old Sarah Jane calling him stupid boy, and Ronnie gets grabbed by a news reporter and she's in the newsroom with her, and the news reporter plans to expose Sarah Jane Smith. So while Nightmare Man is using his powers in Bannerman Road, Luke got Ronnie and Clyde to imagine a red door, so they eventually went through. Nightmare Man's power stopped, so he zapped Mr. Smith and K9, leaving Sarah Jane powerless. So Luke does a clever speech and saying he's not scared as he got Clyde and Ronnie no matter what situation he's in, leaving Nightmare Man trapped in Clyde's nightmare. So everyone woke up, Mr. Smith and K9 recovered. So in the end, everyone says goodbye to Luke and K9 as they're away in Oxford, which is sad to see them go. So yeah, I really like this two-part story. It's scary. What did you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. The Sarah Jane Adventures, The Vaults of Secrets, the second story of Series 4, is written by Phil Ford and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Daniel Anthony, Anjali Mahindra and Alexander Armstrong. So a girl called Gail goes on the run at St. Jude's Hospital. She is possessed by Androvax, so the men in black that look like Agent Smith from the Matrix movies, they wiped her memories after she's unpossessed and she's free to go. So while Luke is in touch with the gang, Geeta and Haresh does a meeting at the sports hall with people, and they're in the group called BURPS with double S, which stands for British UFO Research and Paranormal Studies Society. Cheryl Campbell and David Webber played Ocean Waters and Melvin Minton, aka Minty, cool name, who are the members of BURPS. So Geeta said that she saw Jadoon and Androvax, and of course, Geeta gave them a card of Blooming Lovely. Yeah, sure is Blooming Lovely. As Geeta and Haresh arrived home, Haresh thinks they're insane and Geeta saw Androvax at Sarah Jane's garden. So she gets Haresh to have a look carrying tyre wrench, As he looks at the hedge, he's watched by Sarah Jane, Clyde and Ronnie. He tells them that Geeta thinks she saw Androvax. So after Haresh left, it reveals that Androvax has possessed Ronnie. So she runs up the attic and uses Mr. Smith. So Sarah Jane and Clyde caught her in time. After Androvax released Ronnie, Sarah Jane got Mr. Smith to hold him in a containment vortex, and apparently he needs help as he's been poisoned, and jumping into another body to give him time. So the gang went to the vault and they found out that Ocean was kidnapped by aliens back in 1972, which is how she started the burps. So after getting chased by Men in Black and arrived back at the attic, Sarah Jane came to agree to release Androvax and steps inside Clyde to find the memories of the Men in Black.
Clyde?
So they went to see Ocean and Minty and giving them discs. So after Clyde snatched both discs, Men in Black broke in and Mr. Dread says prepare to be incinerated.
Prepare to be incinerated.
I like the Men in Black. I thought they're pretty cool, and I do like the films as well. Men in Black are androids and they're used by the Alliance of Shades, an organisation created to hide alien secrets from humans. Angus Wright played Mr. Dread, who's the leader of the 3 android agents. The character first appeared in Doctor Who Dreamland, who's voiced by Peter Guinness. They both did a great job, and so does other casts. So Clyde hides behind Ronnie, so he makes a run for it and bumps into Geeta. So she gets possessed and goes away. Ronnie and Sarah Jane woke Clyde up. So everyone drove up to that asylum. Sarah Jane broke Mr. Dread's car to allow him to slow him down, so he uses a van behind him and scared the driver away. As Clyde and Ronnie found Geeta, and we get intense moments when they're getting chased by a Men in Black. So they hide, Clyde outrun him, so Ronnie got Geeta in the room and gets Androvax to release Geeta. So then they outrun Androvax. It was pretty gangster as Clyde is surrounded by 2 Men in Black and they ended up shot each other as Clyde ducked. So Clyde took the shades. Nice shades, man, it really suits you. It was freaky when a hand of Mr. Dread grabbed Sarah Jane. Ugh. So Sarah Jane finds Androvax and she gets possessed. So the gang locks Mr. Dread in the pod because he says his soldiers will handle the vault. So the gang ran to Sarah Jane, who's at the vault, and she puts both discs on the slot and inside a warehouse full of spaceships. The effect looks really cool. So Clyde pulls Sarah Jane away from Androvax and he's escaping in a spaceship. So the gang needed Mr. Dread's help and they have 2 minutes before the Earth gets destroyed. Mr. Dread powers the transmat device so Androvax and his race can leave the Earth without destroying it. Which is great. Geeta is happy that she's saved the world and goes on, and she's wanting to be on the news, which is not good.
Used me like an overcoat. By Geeta Chandra.
This is not good.
I know.
But luckily, despite Mr. Dread is running low, Sarah Jane requested him to get Geeta to forget about the aliens, and as the gang arrives back at Sarah Jane's house, and Geeta thinks that they went to picnic, and poor Minty and Ocean thinking aliens have won again, when Geeta says she doesn't believe in aliens, and Sarah Jane and her gang denies everything, and hopefully Androvax and his new race will have a new beginning, a new hope. So yeah, I think this is a cool story. What did you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. The Sarah Jane Adventures Death of the Doctor, the 3rd story of Series 4, is written by Russell T Davies and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Daniel Anthony, Anjali Mahindra, Alexander Armstrong and Tommy Knight. A novel of this story written by Gary Russell and only gets released as an ebook on 25th of November 2010. So we have 2 special guest appearances in this story. Matt Smith is in it as the 11th Doctor. When I first saw the trailer and seeing him there, I was not expecting it. Katie Manning returns as Jo Grant, as we last see her in The Green Death. When I saw the cast list before watching it and I saw Katie Manning's name on there, I was like, hang on, this name seems familiar. So I looked on Wikipedia and remembered that she's Jo Grant. I really lost it with excitement when I found out that she's returned. So the story begins with the gang talking to Luke on webcam. But unit soldiers arrived outside Sarah Jane's house. Harash was confused. As the gang went outside, Colonel Kareem tells them that the doctor is dead, and Shan-Sheath are setting up a funeral. The gang doesn't believe it, especially Sarah Jane, so Ronnie advised her dad to stay at home. So Sarah Jane and her gang gets taken to unit base and they discovered blue grass called Grosk. I enjoyed the bit where Clyde and Grosk are picking on each other. Colonel Karim mentions that Liz Shaw is on unit's moonbase and Brigadier is stranded on Peru again, so the whole gang sat in the funeral with Shan-Sheath playing music and gang remembers the doctor.
Close your eyes. Remember.
Including Sarah Jane remembering the old doctors like John Pertwee and Tom Baker and David Tennant. So then the vase dropped and there's Jo Grant with her grandson Santiago. Great entrance. And this is the moment where Sarah Jane and Jo finally meet each other.
What they told me about you. You must be Sarah Jane Smith.
So after the long conversation, the funeral continues. Sarah Jane and Jo are getting the impression that the doctor isn't dead. So Clyde, Ronnie and Santiago hits the shaft spying on Captain Karim and Shan-Sheath, planning to steal Sarah Jane and Jo's memories of the doctor. Clyde noticed that he still has that art and energy. He was electrocuted by it from the TARDIS, and because it gave their hiding place away, Shan-Sheath were about to chase them, so they found Sarah Jane and Jo and warned them about Shan-Sheath, and realised that the doctor is still alive. Clyde has got the voice of Matt Smith, so he then switched places with him and the doctor. This is a great reunion.
So, gosh, that was different. Hello, everyone.
It's you, isn't it? Oh, you've done it again.
Hello, Sarah Jane.
Doctor?
Last time I saw you, Jo Grant, you were what, 21, 22? It's like someone baked you.
While Clyde is on another planet, Shan-Sheath came in and electrocuted the doctor to fix the delay. Layla Ruiz played Colonel Karim, a unit officer who's working for Shan-Sheath. When I first saw her, I was thinking she looks familiar, then I realised she was Sarah Page in Primeval. She's a great actress. I always loved the gang. It's great that Matt Smith came in as the 11th Doctor, and it's amazing to bring Katie Manning as Jo Grant, or Jones, and having her reunite with the Doctor. Finn Jones played Santiago Jones, Joe and Cliff's grandson, and I love the character. I wish he was part of the gang. And yes, Finn played Iron Fist and Loris Tyrell, which is cool. He's a great actor. Grosk are similar to Grask, except they're blue and good guys, and they're related to them, and Grosk hates Grask. Shan-Sheath are a vulture-like race who organise a fake funeral to get the TARDIS key, and I thought David Bradley did an excellent job. So Clyde swapped places with the Doctor again and ran for it. So as the Doctor locked himself and the others in the room, the Doctor again, but with Sarah Jane and Jo, swapped places with Clyde again, and poor Clyde feeling space sick. I really enjoyed the moments with the Doctor and Jo having a conversation. The fact that John Pertwee's version of the Doctor is sitting with Jo with different face.
Really is you, isn't it?
So everyone left that planet for good. As Clyde asked the Doctor how many times he can regenerate, he jokingly said 507. Fun fact, 5 plus 0 plus 7 equals 12. Sarah Jane and Jo gets kidnapped by Shan-Sheath and gets strapped onto metal chairs, and remembering their 3 doctors each. Because the Doctor couldn't go in as he hasn't got his sonic screwdriver, he gets Sarah Jane and Jo to remember their time with the Doctor like aliens and friends, including Brigadier, Master, Daleks, Agador, Alpha Centauri, Sea Devils, Zygons, King Peladon and everyone, and I do love that scene. So there was too many memories and the key got corrupted and disappeared, so as Sarah Jane and Jo went inside the coffin, the whole room exploded and everyone is happy that it survived and arrived at the attic. Santiago is mind blown. Jo mentions no matter how much difference the TARDIS looked, it smells the same.
Doesn't matter what's changed. It still smells the same.
I wonder what the TARDIS smells like. Sarah Jane told the Doctor if he dies, they feel it. So after saying goodbye to the Doctor, Jo and Santiago says goodbye to the gang as they're heading to Norway. Sarah Jane does a research on Doctor's old companions. Tegan Javanka is at Australia fighting for Aboriginal rights. Ben and Polly running an orphanage in India. Ian and Barbara Chesterton are at Cambridge and rumoured that they haven't aged since 1960s, which I'm guessing it's during their time with the Doctor. Harry Sullivan working with vaccines and saving thousands of lives. And there's Ace, apparently she's called Dorothy, and she runs a charitable Earth raising billions. And we saw that in season 26 Blu-ray box set announcement, a video, which is cool. I'd love to see a spin-off series, that'll be cool. And sadly this is the last time we see the Doctor and Sarah Jane on screen together. Yeah. So yeah, that's the death of the Doctor, one of the greatest Sarah Jane Adventures stories. What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. The Sarah Jane Adventures, The Empty Planet, the fourth story of Series 4, is written by Gareth Roberts and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Daniel Anthony, Anjali Mahindra and Alexander Armstrong. So this is pretty much a Sarah Jane light story as she's barely in it. Kanan and Luke are at Oxford, so Clyde and Rani are the main characters. So Mr. Smith scans an alien energy trace for a second, then it disappeared. Sarah Jane sends Rani and Clyde home. Rani is reading Great Expectations. Haresh wanted to catch up with Rani, but she asked him to leave so she can carry on with her assignments. And Carla loving Clyde's drawing of Shan Sheath. So after everyone is asleep, the noise turns off on planet Earth. Rani wakes up and she looks for her parents and they turn out to be missing.
Mom? Dad?
She tried Sarah Jane's house, but Sarah Jane is gone. And Mr. Smith is blank. Even her neighbour is gone. But the dog is still there. Rani tries flicking through a few channels, but there's nothing. So then Clyde arrived. Thankfully Rani is not alone. So they walk down the street and finding weird that no cars or vehicles crashed and aeroplanes not falling. So they use a cafe as a base, so there's a kid on the run. So Rani and Clyde went after him to block a flats and they met a kid called Gavin who's scared. They tell him about what they do. As they look out the window, he's gone. So Rani and Clyde went to look for him and there's two robots, one red and one yellow. So they hide, but they found them and they're about to get blasted.
No. Please.
Joe Mason played Gavin, who's half alien and heir to the throne of the planet halfway across the universe, and he doesn't know that yet. The actress has done a great job, and so does the main characters. Automaton are robots used by monarchical planets, and they're to collect their hair in order to bring the entire population back. And I thought those robots looked cool, so Gavin pushes a rubbish bin on a robot, which is gangster, so the trio makes a run for it, so they stop at HQ, or cafe, figuring out why they're the only ones left on Earth. Rani and Clyde came to the conclusion where Jadoon grounded them on Earth, but not sure about Gavin. So automatons broke in, the trio makes a run for it, Clyde kissed Rani on the cheek and splits up from Rani. The bit where Clyde is pretending to be those shop dummies, just because there's no Nestines there because, you know, autons. Automaton couldn't see Clyde and went out. Rani hides in the bin, so after Rani and Clyde ran to each other, they figure out that automatons need Gavin for a reason, otherwise the Earth will be destroyed by countdown.
23 minutes to what?
I don't like countdowns.
So they went to his block of flats and look at his diary to see his whereabouts, so they found him in the field. Gavin has a ring that his dad gave to him to protect him, like perception filter. His dad was a king and Gavin is the next one. So he took the ring off. So Gavin teleported away with automatons and everyone is back. Rani sees her dad who's been worried about her and Geeta is searching for her. And same with Carla who's phoning Clyde. So in the end, Sarah Jane tells Rani and Clyde that Mr. Smith edited the records that Gavin is joining his relatives in Australia. So, that's The Empty Planet and I really enjoyed this story. What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. The Sarah Jane Adventures Lost in Time, the fifth story of Series 4, is written by Rupert Light and starring Elizabeth Sladen, Daniel Anthony and Anjali Mahindra, making the first appearance of Cyril Neronai as the shopkeeper and his pet parrot called Captain. So outside the shop, Sarah Jane, Clyde and Rani reading newspaper of aliens sighted at local shop. So the gang went inside and looking at items. Obviously there's a parrot there. Clyde picks an arrow up that has blood stain on, so shopkeeper sends the gang on a quest to find 3 items in different times. This is like a video game, which I like. The gang didn't want to, but the shopkeeper forced them into different time.
There is no choice in the matter.
They only have until the hourglass runs out. Cyril Neronai played the shopkeeper, self-described servant of the universe, and there to put them in the right order, just like the Doctor. He has a parrot called Captain, and I think the characters are great. They should bring him back for Doctor Who, as it would be great to explore more of those characters. And Shopkeeper meeting the Doctor, would that be cool? I love his clickings when he controls the time windows like that. So Ronnie ended up in the Tower of London in 1553, and a maid called Ellen said that Ronnie needs to change her clothes to see Queen Jane, so she does. Ronnie looks great in that dress and meets Queen Jane, and I really enjoyed the banter between the two. So later on, Matilda and Ellen came in with a scroll, and apparently Jane is to be executed because she made a false claimant to the throne. This really happened, and it's really sad the fact that she's only 16 or 17. Too young, man. Ronnie overhears Lady Matilda's plan to kill Jane. Amber Beatty played Lady Jane Grey, who was the Queen of England for 9 days. Because of her false claimant to the throne, she ended up beheaded for punishment. Horrible. The actress did a great job. She is a likeable queen. So Sarah Jane ended up in 1889 in the cupboard, and Emily mistakes Sarah Jane as a ghost.
I'm not a spirit. I'm Sarah Jane Smith.
Why are you haunting this house?
Emily believes there's a ghost in the house, and Sarah Jane assured her that there's no such thing as ghosts. Gwyneth Kayworth played Emily Morris, who's an investigator of ghosts, who lost her mum in the fire. She's done a great job as well. So the clock strikes 8, and that's where haunting begins. As they heard voices, they learned that it's the people from the future. The room was hot, which is why temperature in there is different, and they wanted to save the children from the burning room. This is scary. Clyde is in the sandy dunes in 1941, and couldn't get any network on his phone, obviously. So a kid called George asks Clyde to get down, otherwise the Nazis will see him. As they run to the church, the telephone is dead, so the Nazis came in. So Clyde and George hide, but Lieutenant Koenig found them and taking them hostage, which is a scary approach. As Clyde and George tied up to the chair, they untied the rope and escaped. Just after the Nazis came in, and the shopkeeper tells Captain that if they don't return soon, they'll be trapped in the past forever.
If Sarah Jane and her friends do not return soon, they'll be trapped in the past.
Richard Whisker played George Woods, who's a British soldier in World War II, who's only 13. Catherine Bailey played Miss Wickham, a double agent pretending to be a school teacher. Tom Vlashiha played Lieutenant Koenig, who's a leader of a group of Nazi soldiers in the beach. The casts did really well. The music in this story is fantastic. Clyde and George outrun the Nazis and ran to Miss Wickham. She claims that the village is surrounded by Germans and they need to go back inside the church, as they're armed as well. Miss Wickham ran in the church and shouting at Nazis to put their hands up. So Clyde and George went in. They're happy for a moment until when she reveals to be a Nazi spy. Shopkeeper can close the time window. Nazi plans to be undetected by British so they can win the war. So Clyde uses his phone as a bomb to fool them. George grabs Thor's hammer ornament from the transmitter and rang the church bell to alert home guards, which scared the Nazis away. So Clyde said goodbye to George after he says he wants to be a soldier and gets told to wait for the home guard. Matilda is about to use a dagger on Lady Jane, so Ronnie disarms her. Apparently she's a Protestant like Jane, not a Catholic.
Get away from her! Lady Ronnie, be careful!
And Matilda says Jane's death would have inspired thousands. Jane gave Ronnie the permission to go home, but Ronnie wanted to stay and comfort Jane, which is nice. Sadly, Ronnie and Jane has to say goodbye to each other when she leaves, and we obviously know what's going to happen to Jane. Man, this is heartbreaking. Sarah Jane turns the clock to 8, so her and Emily sees Gemma, a babysitter from the future who was supposed to look after the children, but she locks them in the bedroom and they found a key. Sadly, they can't touch it because of wrong time zone, so they went through and sees kids knocking over the candles, causing the whole room on fire, which frightens Emily because of the connection of her mum's death. So after saving children's lives, Emily concentrates on her mum so she can pick the key up and give to Sarah Jane. As Sarah Jane disappears, Emily wanted her to stay. She accidentally took the key off her, so the gang came back to the shop in their time, put ornament and dagger in the briefcase. While we get an intense moment where the earth was about to get sucked into the vortex, a woman, Angela Price, not that Angela Price, whose Emily's granddaughter, played by Rowena Cooper, Terran Hardiman's wife, came in and gave Sarah Jane the keys, so the shopkeeper put it in the briefcase. The time window has closed. It reveals that it was Captain who sent the gang on the quest.
The captain's work is done here, which is all you need to know. I'd love to stay and chat, but, well, duty calls.
Shopkeeper and Captain disappeared, so while Sarah Jane has a chat with Angela Price, Clyde does a research about George, who joined the army after the Nazis were captured and knighted by Queen Elizabeth II in the recent years. When Ronnie searched up Jane's happy final moments, I really enjoyed this story. It's well written and acted. What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. The Sarah Jane Adventures Goodbye Sarah Jane Smith, the 6th story of Series 4, is written by Gareth Roberts and Clayton Hickman, and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Tommy Knight, Daniel Anthony, Anjali Mahindra, Alexander Armstrong and John Leeson. Originally they were going to make a sequel to Planet of the Spiders, which would be interesting, but Gary Russell couldn't make it work, so he dropped that idea, so it would be Sarah Jane's tiredness and forgetfulness. So after the asteroid falling, Sarah Jane, Ronnie and Clyde grabbed some gadgets and went where it crashed, but Meteorite was all clear and there was Ruby Wright saying she saves the world and drove off in the sports car. Sarah Jane didn't seem to be happy at all. So Ruby coincidentally arrived in the same street where Sarah Jane, Ronnie and Clyde lives, so they let themselves in Ruby's house and she tells them multiple times to get out.
You're a journalist, I might have known. Get out or I'll call the police.
You don't really want to do that.
She moves in the street because of the events like Martin Truman, Bubble Shock Factory, Jadoon driving in a police car, and Rackweed. Sarah Jane wanted to stay away from Ruby, keeping her eyes open. As Skeeter says to Sarah Jane as she's making Luke tea, she realises he's still at Oxford, so she talks to Luke through Mr. Smith and she seems to forget K9's name. Ronnie came in after saying goodbye to Luke. She suggested that Sarah Jane should go on holiday and see Luke. Mr. Smith warns the gang about Dark Horde, so Clyde is surprised that Sarah Jane is giving him a gun, so they go down to the junkyard. Sarah Jane, Ronnie and Clyde were about to get killed by Dark Horde. So Ruby came, she gave Ronnie and Clyde those white globes and teleported Dark Horde away. So Ruby introduced herself. Julie Graham played Ruby Wright, who's a Quetish that feeds off Sarah Jane Smith. Quetish are races that fed off happiness in people's lives, draining their life essence, with it kinda like Dementors in Harry Potter, which I think they're pretty cool. I'd love to see more of those races in Doctor Who. Dark Hordes are an atrocious warrior race. The ones in the story are holographic by Ruby, and so does that meteorite, so she can contact Sarah Jane. Eddie Marston voiced Mr. White, a game console that's like Mr. Smith but from Quetish Planet, and I thought he looks cool. He was named by a Clyde Langer. So the gang showed Ruby around, and I like the conversation between Mr. Smith and Mr. White. Imagine the conversation if Mr. Smith talks to Siri, Google and Alexa. After Ronnie and Clyde left, Sarah Jane has a talk with Ruby. She seems to forget the doctor's name somehow, so she later gets Mr. Smith to scan her health, and because of brain tissue deterioration, she thinks she's getting too old to save the world. She imagines Clyde and Ronnie teaming up with Ruby, leaving Sarah Jane left out, which is a heartbreaking moment. Sarah Jane gives all her stuff to Ruby, she puts her in charge and deletes her voice from Mr. Smith, but she needs to contact Luke, but Ruby wouldn't let her, and she turns to be a villain.
What's happening? What's happening is you're not in charge anymore. You gave me these, you gave me this place, and you gave me yourself. Well, what's left of you?
She placed Sarah Jane in her secret cellar where her stomach is. She reveals that it was her who made Sarah Jane ill and who she is. Ruby's planned to drain Sarah Jane and Earth. Ruby says that she's going to help the aliens and absorbing many more life essence.
And then my adventure begins. I will feast on this world.
So Ronnie and Clyde went up the attic and Ruby got Mr. White to play a fake video of Sarah Jane saying she's leaving. As they went downstairs, Clyde blames Ronnie for Sarah Jane leaving. So Ronnie storms into her house and Gita went to see if she was alright and comfort her. Meanwhile, Clyde uses Mr. Smith, realises that he's trying to warn him about Ruby. So she teleported Clyde in spacecraft that's running out of air. And she got Mr. White to shut Mr. Smith down. Ronnie tries to phone Clyde and someone knocked, And there was Luke, great to see him again. He's unhappy at the fact that Clyde leaves him a message. He had to quickly drove from Oxford all the way back up to Bannerman Road, and Sarah Jane is missing. So they communicate with K9 on laptop to find out that Clyde is in space and Ruby is behind it all. So Ronnie goes into the attic and pretends to be siding with Ruby. She puts her phone near Mr. White so they can put Mr. Smith back online. Clyde appears in the attic so Mr. Smith holds Ruby in the containment vortex. As Ronnie and Clyde goes to rescue Sarah Jane, Ruby escapes and came in saying she'll devour them completely. So Luke arrives and tells Ruby to leave Earth, but she refuses. So he gets Mr. White to send a hologram of raining of meteorites, and Ruby couldn't handle it. The stomach shrinks and releases all energy, and Sarah Jane is alright again. No matter how old she is a strong woman. So after the meteorite stopped, Clyde gets splodged by a slime from stomach, which is gross. So Sarah Jane sends Ruby to spacecraft and flying towards the sun. Sarah Jane puts Mr. White in the safe. Luke treats the gang for pizza and cinema, and Sarah Jane says there are amazing things up there in the universe, but they've got some very stiff competition down here on Earth. So yeah, another story I enjoyed. What did you think of this story and Sarah Jane Adventures Series 4? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks as always for watching, and see you in the next video.